8 months ago, I lost my job at the age of 62. It was in the short list of worst days of my life, probably right up there in the top 5. And while all this was going on, in the last 7 months, I kept this a secret. Stay tuned and listen to what happened and why I chose to not tell. I've been actually waiting to record this video for quite some time, but you see, I couldn't put it up on YouTube because then my secret would be out. So here I am, finally able to share with people that I love and people here on YouTube what happens and how you feel when you lose your job at the age of 62. So I decided I was just going to let the tape roll and give a bit of a narrative, and then I'll edit it out. So hopefully you won't be too bored, and I'll just focus on the highlights. So after working for a company for 7 years, I got a meeting put on my calendar that said catch up, and I was a tad bit suspicious. I had been there for quite some time, and my boss had never asked me for a catch up, if you will. So maybe that should have been a sign, and maybe I should have paid attention to some other things too along the way, but we'll get to that later on in the video. Anyway, when I joined the meeting on Zoom, when that screen opened and the first person I saw was the HR person, it was one of the most awful feelings I have ever felt. And if you have been there, if you've experienced this, you know. And if you haven't experienced it, I hope that you never do, because the floor literally opens up underneath you and you sort of feel yourself falling, while at the same time knowing in your heart of heart what's about to happen and how you have to maintain a decent amount of composure, or at least you think you do, right? So that screen opened. I saw the HR person. I saw my direct boss, and there were a few other people, owners on the call. And in my head, I kept saying, "Oh my God, I'm getting fired. Oh my God, I'm losing my job." And I didn't get fired, but I did lose my job. And so one by one, everyone spoke a little bit. And at that moment, I was just digging my fingernails into my thighs, so that and saying in my head, "Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." And I didn't cry during the whole time, but I should have recorded, because I honestly can't tell you half the things that were said to me. But at the end of the day, the reason for my dismissal, as it were, was because they decided to eliminate my position. And that is, they may have actually had a legitimate reason for eliminating my position. That is the party line, and we're going to go with that. As a 62-year-old, eliminating a position is a clean way to not also have to deal with possible age discrimination. And I'm not claiming that age discrimination took place here. I'm just saying that other friends and colleagues of mine who have been let go, and all in the same age bracket, have also been let go under that same caveat, which is eliminating their position. So I found myself at 62 without a job. And what I did know was that I could not tell my then 84-year-old parents. So let me just say right here, I'm very proud and lucky to, at my age, have both my parents. And that's not lost on me. But what I also knew was that telling my parents was going to serve absolutely no purpose. They would both worry, and I mean worry. So I kept it a secret. And so for 7 months or so, my parents really thought that I was going to work every day. Now, luckily, it wasn't a crazy story that I, got dressed up every day, got in a car, and sat in a library or a coffee shop for 7 or 8 hours. My husband was very, very well aware that I no longer had a job. But I knew that I didn't want them to worry. I knew that either I would find a new job, which I am happy to say that I have, or, that maybe I would take this opportunity to retire, which unfortunately wasn't quite ready to do that. But by not telling them, it just saved them all that angst of worrying about me not having a job. And then on top of it, for me, it was, at least where my mother is concerned, a tad bit of self-preservation. My mother, while having, while well-meaning, would call me up, I'm sure, and say, "How's the job hunt going? Do you have any prospects? Do you have any interviews?" During this timeline, we decided to travel because why not? We had an opportunity. I wasn't working. And so we made a couple of small trips, but we took a huge trip and went to Spain and stayed there for 5 weeks. And it was amazing. It was probably one of the best things I've ever done. It kind of took me away from my day-to-day environment, which was just a constant reminder of the fact that I had no job. And it just, gave me an opportunity to go stay in another country. And I highly recommend it. If you can have that opportunity. We had a little savings put aside. And so we spent some of it and decided to go and live in another country. And it was great. I also knew that while I was traveling, it was an opportunity for me to continue to look for a job, interview on Zoom if I needed to. And, I also made the decision that if I had advanced so far, if I was lucky enough to advance so far in some sort of interview process, we could always come home if we needed to. And so the 5 weeks away in Spain was really, really great. But at one point, my mom did say, "Did you quit your job and you're just not telling me?" And I just said, "Mom, I did not quit my job." So as my brother said, "Well, you didn't lie," which is true. I didn't. So it was kind of hard in some ways because by not telling my parents, especially my mom, who only lives 10 miles away, I forfeited what could have been a lot of more time spent with her doing things, So if I have a small regret about that decision, it's that I didn't tell her, and then I could have probably spent way more time with both my parents, actually, had they known. But in the end, I did get a job, and I started about 4 weeks ago. And so once I had secured employment, I finally went ahead and told both my mom and my dad that I had a new job. And in the process, also told them that for the past 7 months, I had no job. And I just felt that I needed to come clean on all areas. So my takeaway is that I made the right decision, that once I told my mom that I had lost a job and found a job, and my reasonings, let me say, the first thing that my mom said when I told her was, "I'm so glad you didn't tell me. I would have worried." So I think after what is now 63 years, I know my parents pretty well, and I know that not telling them was the right thing to do. Of course, most of my friends knew, some people from my family knew, my brother knew, and they managed to keep my secret. But the whole process of losing a job is horrible for anybody at any age. But when you are my age, it is devastating because you are at the end of your career. And I really thought that I would, continue to do my best and put a couple more years in with this company and ultimately retire. And I really did feel like the rug was pulled out from underneath me. And it's really hard to regroup. It's really, really hard because you've got to process so much. And it's almost like those stages of grief when you get a diagnosis of a terrible illness, where you go through, I don't know what all the phases are, but anger and denial, and you grieve, and then there's acceptance. So I did a lot of that. I mean, I think the first month, I don't even know what I did. I do know I called everyone I knew. I started to put my feelers out, letting people know that I was looking for a new position. Spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, and that certainly helped me in many, many ways in ultimately getting new employment. But it is really, really hard to find a job the later you are in life. And it amazes me because we have so much wisdom, and just not only job wisdom, but life wisdom as well. And so, but people don't sometimes really want that. Like, they don't really care. They just want things a certain way. And, maybe I was looked upon as an old dinosaur. I don't know. The reasonings are theirs, and I've certainly come to my terms with it. So it's all good on my side. But my parents do happily know now that I am now once again gainfully employed. And I hope that I never have to go through this again, because it is not a good thing. But I've just moved forward. And like most things in life, sometimes there are lessons that we would have preferred not to learn, experiences that we would have preferred not to go through. I don't really love that phrase, what kills you, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I feel like I am a very strong person, but there are times where you're just going to get knocked down on the floor. And sometimes it's okay to stay there. Sometimes it's okay to stay there for a little while and cry a little bit and let the pain set in and acknowledge it, and then get up and do your best, and know that somehow, some way, you will come out on the other side of this thing, but it is gonna suck while you're in it. And I have to say that is absolutely what I felt. Looking for a job is not easy at this age. And but I got through it. So anyway, that's the little story there from me, how I lost my job at 62 and kept it a secret. My mom literally thought I was going to work every day. So there you are. I hope you enjoyed this little story. If you have experienced this as well, please leave me a note in the comments. I'd love to know how you dealt with it. Did you tell people around you, tell people that you loved, or did you shield people from what was going on in your life? As always, if you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up button. I'd appreciate it. And if you'd like to subscribe and get more videos from me, I'd like that too. So have a good rest of your day. It's a Sunday. I'm going to wind down because I have to go to work tomorrow. So have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.